Hi folks, it's me Michaela and welcome back to my channel. I am starting a new reading vlog today because I decided to check in on my series spreadsheet. And I'm currently in the middle of 21 series. And that is a number that is at least 5 larger than I would like it to be. The good news is that there are 7 of those series where I only have 1 book left, or I only plan on reading 1 more book in them. I'll talk about that later if it comes up, but there's 7 series where if I read 1 book, it's basically off of the list for me. So I decided I should finally get my little butt in gear and finish some of these series. So this is what this reading vlog will be. I'm going to be starting today with The Queen of Nothing by Holly Black. This is the 3rd and final book in the Folk of the Air trilogy, which is a YA fantasy about the Fae. You're following Jude, who's a human who lives in the Fae world, and it's very political and has a whimsy to it that I've really been liking. I finished reading The Wicked King a couple months ago, which was the 2nd book, and that ended with quite the kind of a cliffhanger. I don't know, I guess it left with just quite the twist at the end of Wicked King that leads you to really want to see where this is going. So that is where I am going to be starting today. I'll let you know my thoughts once I'm a little bit of the way through it, and I'll give you some more details on things later, but right now I gotta go to work. You already know. I have to go to work. So I'm 100 pages into The Queen of Nothing, which is a third of the way through. I'm kind of shocked that this book is only just over 300 pages because it's the end of the trilogy. And based off of where I am right now in this, I think that what's going on has been not what I was expecting it to do in a good way, and I'm intrigued to see where it leads, and I'm kind of liking the developments, but I feel this plot is going to have to move so fast in order to conclude this story in 200 pages. How is that going to happen in 200 pages? Just based off of where we are now. I feel there's a lot of steps that are going to have to happen in order for Jude, our main character, to accomplish things, because the start of this book is kind of a rough time for some people, and I think what happens at the beginning of this book to kind of jumpstart this story again after where we left off in The Wicked King was quite intriguing and quite good. Like I said, I'm really interested to see where this is going. I'm just having doubts about how well this book is going to conclude this whole series in the next 200 pages. Just because I think the first 100 pages of this has been a lot of setup, which is good. You need setup to understand context of where and when we are now in the series, because there's been a tiny bit of a time jump. I don't think it's been that much time, but there has been time has passed, so you needed the setup to kind of get things rolling again, to set up the context of where we are and where the status of character relationships are. And now that that's done and we kind of have an idea of the vaguest idea of things to come, I'm confuddled. Again, because if the first 100 pages were not necessarily slow, but nothing too integral towards the conclusion of a plot is happening, and this is the 3rd book of a trilogy and there's only 200 pages left, what's going on in those 200 pages? I don't know, but I'm gonna find out. It is a lovely day, so I think I might go out on my balcony and read some more of this before the sun goes down and I'm sad and it's bedtime. So that's where I'm gonna leave you for now. Super quick update, because I really don't have too much to say other than what's going on, how is this book gonna finish the entire trilogy story in 200 pages. So yeah, there we go. See you. I'm now 200 pages in, and I will say that things did happen. Basically, as soon as I read again after my last update, things happened. And so we're back kind of really in the swing of things plot-wise with plotting and throne shenanigans. I do really like the character relationships in the Folk of the Air series. I think that like the relationships that Jude has are very complex because like I feel the characters are pretty complex and I like that. I will say like I'm still concerned about the fact that there's only 100 pages left in this book. I feel like it has the potential to rush an ending and to not kind of give the ending justice based off of the little bit of book I have left. And I do really like this world. I've talked before about how I think the magic and the way that the fairies are not able to lie really enhance the kind of political scheming nature of the whole story, like the ongoing story of the trilogy. I just sometimes feel like it's slightly lacking because there's kind of this idea that there's magic, but like what is the magic? I don't know, like am I just not understanding it? Like I get like the fairies can basically like, you know, what do they call it? Bewitch? Something like that. People, they can do things to mortals. But I don't understand, like, can the fairies do things to other fairies? Do they only have the magic over the mortal people? I don't know. Again, like, I can't get over the fact that this book is only 300 pages long. Like, this is the shortest book in the trilogy. That feels unusual to me. I think that like we should be getting somewhere. And I feel like we are getting somewhere with the relationship development between Cardan and Jude. I believe that like we've had some movement there to like push that part forward. And we do kind of have this timeline for this entire book. There's like a scene at the beginning where Jude gets some information that kind of provides this idea of a timeline for like when events have to happen by. I'm trying to be very vague. So you have this idea that, you know, so much has to happen in this amount of time. And I feel like that should make the plot feel very like tense and suspenseful. However, there's a lot of this book where Jude's just like passed out. There's a lot of scenes I have read in the first 2/3 of this where it's like Jude getting like beat up or she's drugged or injured or something happens to her and then she's like unconscious and then like she wakes up and she's like, I don't know how long I've been asleep. Or like she wakes up and then like is like, I don't know where I am, and I fall asleep again, and then wakes up and then is like, I don't know how long I was asleep. And it's like, girl, how is this happening to you so many times? So that seems weird to me. I feel like you can only pull that stunt in a book like so many times before I'm gonna be like, do you not have any other cards up your sleeve for like how to pass time or to make something dramatic? Because at this point, every time Jude just passes out, you're like, oh well, whatever, she's gonna be fine because this happens to her like every other day. So, you know, like that's kind of been like irking me just because it's happened too many times, and it makes me feel like the plot isn't as tense as it should be because it's almost like there's these big gaps because you're following Jude and Jude's just like passed out for like days and then wakes up and you're like, oh yeah, the plot's happening. Even though obviously like when she's passed out, it's not like you're just sitting and reading pages of silence or something. Obviously, like, it skips to the next scene. But I think just, like, the fact that, you know, like, narratively in the plot, what's happened is this, like, break of days, and all the other characters have been living and doing things for this period of time that Jude hasn't been there to witness. And so I feel like it's using that to further plot instead of just, like, writing more plot, and that's kind of why the book is so short. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I'm still like liking it. I'm still really like excited to see how it's going to wrap everything up, because right now like things are getting to like a boiling point with the plot where I feel like we're gonna tip over and kind of see where things end, because there's only 100 pages left. But I just don't know if I've been like living in this book enough to appreciate whatever ending is coming because I just feel like it's too short, which is like not a complaint I have too often. I'm not usually a person like, oh wow, I wish there was more book, because I feel like a lot of people are writing too much book, and I don't blame them. Like, if you're an author and you love writing, like, and you're obsessed with your story, as you should be, like, I love that you wanted to write all of this, and I think that there's nothing wrong with like a chunky big book. It's like just like a personal opinion of like what I feel is like balanced for the plot and the story and the characters to like do the story justice. And most of the time, if I have a complaint on that, it's that I felt things were like dragged out too long, or there is too much fluff, and it made the impact of larger things feel not as important. Versus like, this is like the first time I can remember that I'm like, I feel like this book needs more stuff happening in it. Like, it needs more, just needs more pages of things. I think this book does need to be stretched out, because it feels plot things that move the plot happen like super quickly, and you're like, oh, we're like moved over here now. And then there's kind of like a character development relationship part where like the political plot stuff isn't happening because it just took this big leap, and now it's like lulling, and then it'll take another big leap. And I don't really know how I feel about that kind of like jagged story pacing. So yeah, that's my thoughts. I have to go to work. Unfortunately, it's raining. Rude. But I'm gonna finish the book today, and I'll let you know my final thoughts once I have final thoughts. If I ever have a thought again, I will in fact inform you of those thoughts. Okay, thank you. Goodbye. I'm back, and I'm on my floor. We are joined by Mr. Man, Benjamin. His name's actually Benjamin. I just like to call him Benjamin, but he's having a little Napaduda, Benjo. Okay, so I'm back because I have finished reading The Queen of Nothing. Thank you, which means I finished a series. Hold the applause. I ended up giving this 3 stars. It was like a bit of a disappointment, but I don't think that's like shocking to you based off of my thoughts so far about the book. So I think that, like I said, the pacing just felt a bit off. I think like the way that it ended was nice. I think it worked to kind of clue up everything for the trilogy. I think all of that worked out well. I actually like quite enjoyed the epilogue. I felt like that was like a very solid epilogue, and I just think it was like kind of lacking a bit as like the ultimate final climactic part of the story that we've been reading. I felt like the first book and the second book both had more stakes and more tension and more building in it than The Queen of Nothing, and because of that I just like never fully got into it. Also, like I said before, I really feel like Jude spent half of this book like waking up from being unconscious, so like that was kind of weird. And I also think that like the events that happen in the last third of this book are something that is a twist, but it's a twist in a way where the main part of it, like I feel like the idea of what happens in the last third of this book is something that you could deduce, but the like specifics of it were just like this really random twist that kind of felt out of nowhere, and I wasn't really a fan of that. Like how it happened and like the way it concluded and came to be, like all of that I was fine with, but just its like existence, the fact that that was the big thing, I was kind of like, oh, that kind of disappointed me a little bit. So I gave it a 3 star. I think it was like a fine enough end to the trilogy. I just like was really hoping to love this book and I just didn't. But I also think I went into it with doubts just after seeing how short the book was. I don't know. It's not even, I don't even know what in it would have been longer, because I don't think it needed the plot to be more stretched out. I almost feel like it just needed more plot. Like I feel like more should have happened in this book than it did. I think like what did happen happened in the pages it did, and that was fine. Like I said, it was like a little jumpy with pace. It was like a little jagged, a little what's the word, like it would move a lot and then really lag, and then move a lot and then lag again. So I kind of just wish there was like I don't know, a bit more plot happening. I wish there was something a little bit more complex, just because I feel like the other 2 books in this series, there was like a lot of moving parts going on, and I feel like there weren't as many moving parts in this, and it was kind of a disappointment that way. So there we have those thoughts. I do have this situation where I am sitting on my floor here because I thought this is a video about finishing series, and my series tracker is like one of my favorite things I've ever created. So why don't we update my series tracker in real time? And while we're at it, we can also discuss the other series that I'm close to finishing or being up to date on and decide what I should read next. Here's my beautiful series tracker. So we're looking for The Folk of the Air here. I've now read all 3 books, 100%, and I finished this, what is the date? June 21st. 2025. Rude of you to not do the formatting properly. There we go. Okay. Marked it up to date. And then we can go into my currently reading here. The Folk of the Air. This actually is owned, so it can underline. And then we'll color it because I read it in 2025. And then what I do now that I've finished this, I will cut this row, go over to my completed series list, paste it here, and I can go back to currently reading and just delete that row. Beautiful, perfect, wonderful. Okay, so back to like my series. As you can see, I'm now down the 20 series that I'm currently reading, and if we're looking for book series, I only have 1 book left in. I do have the Inheritance Cycle. As you can see, I'm calling this up to date because the book I haven't read is Murtagh, and I don't think I'm ever going to read that book. We then have my Potter reread. I'm doing a critical reread of Harry Potter, but I'm not going to be reading that for a reading vlog because I'm not vlogging those reads, so that is like out of the question. I then have the Wayward Children series. This is actually up to date. This one book I have noted is the new release that was announced for January 2026, I think. Then we have Beartown. This is one that I've been meaning to finish, so I do have the winners on my shelf, and if I read that book, I will be done the series. I then also have the Legendborn cycle. Oathbound, I actually have on my Libby Loan shelf right now, so I could be reading the Legendborn cycle. Why do I necessarily want to read Oathbound when I spent like all of Legendborn being really confused, but then giving it a kind of good rating because the ending was like literally so wild? And then what was the second book? Was the second book Bloodmarked? Is that the... Oh my god, look at that memory I have. Beautiful. Yeah, so then Bloodmarked, I really, yeah, I did not like that. I don't like remember it super well. It was a while ago that I read it, but from what I recall, it was like a lot of things in the plot would happen that then like ended up, it didn't matter. You go through like this whole giant scene, and then the result of it was like literally nothing that impacted anything going forward, and it made me really mad. And then also the end of that book, I think, is like literally telling instead of showing. If I remember correctly, it's like the main character's like passed out for some reason at the end of that, maybe something like that. Is that book? And then like the end of the book is literally some other character being like, yeah, so this is what happened, and it made me so angry. So do I think I'm gonna like Oathbound? Not really, but I feel like I have so far put a number of hours into this series, and like if there's only 1 book left, because I think it's a trilogy, I don't think there's a 4th book coming out. Oh my god, if there is, I might have to DNF something for the first time in my life. But I feel like I've dedicated so much to this series now that I kind of want to see it through in a way. So I do have that on my Libby Loan shelf, so I could read Oathbound next. That's a choice I could make. I do also now have The Lost Metal, which is the last book in Mistborn Era 2 that I could be reading. That is like a very chonky book though. When we talk about books being bricks, honey, you can make a house out of Brandon Sanderson very easily. You only need like 5 books and you have a house. So am I prepared for that, especially after like just reading a fantasy book? I know like this is like very different from Mistborn, don't get me wrong, but like maybe I should read something that's not fantasy potentially. I then have Off the Ice. I don't have Spiral, so I can't read that. The Castle Knoll Files, I don't think that one is released yet. Same with the Fae and Alchemy Alchemy. That's the Quicksilver series. Brimstone's not available yet, so that is technically up to date. So off campus, I do technically have 2 books left to read in this, but okay, the 5th book in this series is called The Legacy, and I haven't read like the synopsis of it because I don't want to spoil myself, and I love reading books blind, but from just like based off of looking at the cover and the fact that it's called The Legacy, it just sounds like it's an entire book of epilogue for the 4 couples in the actual series. So I'm not sure if I'm going to read The Legacy. It's kind of in the similar space of limbo as like The Inheritance Cycle and Murtagh. There is another book. Will I ever be reading it? I'm not sure, honey. So I do have The Goal. Is it called The Goal? Where is off campus? Hello? Here's off campus. Oh, it is called The Goal. Okay, memory strikes again. So I do own The Goal. I can actually underline that. And I actually also own The Lost Metal. Guys, I went on a book haul recently. I think my book haul video is probably posted by now. So I do have The Goal. So I could read The Goal and then mark that as an up-to-date series for now as I decide if I'm going to read The Legacy or not. So those are my options. I have Oathbound from the Legend-Born Cycle by Tracy Dion. I have The Goal from the Off-Campus series by Elle Kennedy. I have The Winners from the Beartown series by Frederick Bachman. I have The Lost Metal from Mistborn Era 2 by Brandon Sanderson. I think those are all the ones I have, yeah, because I just finished reading The Folk of the Air. So, what to read? I kind of think I might read The Goal because I think I might be in the mood for just a really light, kind of quick romance read. Let me grab that so I can show you. Okay, I'm back and I brought The Goal. So I guess I'm gonna start reading this next. And I think it should probably be a pretty quick read, hopefully. And then like maybe I'll read a 3rd book for this vlog. We'll find that out once I get to that stage. Okay, that's a problem for future Michaela to decide. So yeah, there we have the update, as well as a little live action series tracker deciding. Let's get back into reading, shall we? Do you have any comments, any thoughts? Thank you for sharing. Future Michaela, back to you. Guys, I don't know what's happening. I'm 140-ish, almost 150 pages into this book. So I'm like a little over a third of the way through. And I don't know if it's just because it's been like almost a year since I read Elle Kennedy and maybe like my taste, like what I'm enjoying is just like changed and this isn't it anymore. But like I'm only like just kind of getting into this and I still don't feel that interested, and I really kind of don't care about the book that much. I don't know what it is. I kind of find the characters a little annoying. We're following Sabrina, who's this like workaholic, I don't have time for anything kind of gal, and then Tucker, who is a hockey player and from the South, which he's like been a side character in the previous books, and I don't know if it's just because it's been a really long time now since I read the other books in this series, but like I don't remember him being Southern. But he is, apparently, and I feel like it's just talked about a little too much. Like it's constantly like his Southern drawl, and he's so that's how my mama taught me, and like saying darling all the time, and I don't know what it is, but it's just irking me a little bit too much. I don't know, it's because like the character doesn't feel Southern other than when it's just like explicitly being told to us about how he's like sounding Southern or he has a Southern accent or something, and it just like doesn't feel like something that's like actually part of the character. It kind of feels like something that's like slapped on top, and because it's mentioned so often, it's like kind of bothering me. The other thing about this is that, okay, I don't want to give any spoilers, but this book takes place kind of like in tandem timeline wise to the book previous to this one, so you're kind of like rewinding history and getting the part of a story, like another story that was happening, and you kind of like got little hints of it that like something was happening in like the previous book to this. But the thing is that then at the end of the book before this, okay, which was what, the score? Is that Dean's book? Yeah, the score. Okay, so in the score, at the end of that, basically what is going to happen in this book is revealed, and so you like know where it's going. I really don't want to spoil it because like it feels like a spoiler because this is the last book in this romance series, even though like they should be standalones that are like in the same world, but they're a little bit more connected than that. And like because you find out where this is going, I'm just waiting for it to get there already, and it's not there yet. So I'm like kind of bored. Like I'm reading this and I'm like, I don't really see the point of why I'm reading all of these pages when I know where this is heading. We haven't reached that point yet. Like I feel like I'm just wasting my time a little bit. And when it's like these characters that I'm not really enjoying, and for whatever reason, I guess Elle Kennedy's writing I'm not overly enjoying right now in this present moment, it's making it worse because I'm like, great. So I know where the plot's going. It's not getting there fast enough, and I kind of don't care about the characters. Like, why am I reading the book? It's not like that bad. Like, I'm not like, oh my god, I'm about to DNF this book. Like, I'm gonna finish reading the book. And like, I say I kind of got 100 and probably 120 pages in before I really was like, okay, I'm kind of here for it now. I can read this. Like, I'm kind of caring a bit about the plot now, okay? I don't know. I feel like it just kind of took too long to get on its feet, especially for a book where, unless you're reading this without having read any of the other books in the series, which is like, who's doing that? Like, they literally put the numbers on the spine for this series. Like, clearly this is a series that's like, even though it's supposed to be like independent standalones, they're not, and they're kind of intended to be read in order. So like, I feel like everybody who's reading this has read the score and has read the other two books in the series before this, right? So you know what's happening. So then like, why is it taking so long to happen? Huh? Somebody want to explain that to me? Get on with it. And I was like kind of expecting it to be a little bit of a bounce back because obviously like what happened at the end of the previous book was kind of like this reveal for like this book. But I thought that was going to happen like at least within the first third of the book, if not sooner, so that then the rest of this book is still like a surprise or an unknown for the plot. Because now it's like, okay, cool. I'm reading this book. I know where it's going, and also it's a romance, so it's gonna have happily ever after. So like, is there anything in this book to surprise me? I don't think anything in this book is gonna surprise me. And I'm not saying everything needs to be like a reveal, but there's a reason why a synopsis doesn't tell you the entire plot of a book and just gives you the setup. And I feel like this book is just a lot of setup, but you already know the plot. So, hello? I feel like that whole situation wasn't planned out well because I think it's made for this like shocking kind of reveal scene for the end of the score, but I don't feel like Elle Kennedy thought through how that would affect this book with how she's plotting it. Because I think if this book was just like happening and I didn't know where it was going, I'd probably be enjoying it a lot more. But because I'm just like waiting to get to where it's going to get to, it's making me bored. So, you know, there we are. I think it's probably just going to be like a fine book. I think I'm just maybe, you know, like I'm just like growing, and the Elle Kennedy writing style maybe just isn't for me anymore. I don't know. There's also just a whole thing too, right? That these are all like college students, and that's kind of like a area of life that I'm outside of now. And I don't know if that's just like something I'm not finding relatable, and they also are kind of annoying with in this. I just don't know. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's a little thing, maybe it's a nothing, maybe it's everything, but it's just like it's not hitting. So I'm gonna keep reading it because, like I said, it's not bad. I don't hate it. I just feel very indifferent, which kind of sucks because I almost feel like it would be better if I did hate it, because then at least I could hate read it and have fun hate reading it. But like I don't hate it. It just is. So I'm gonna keep reading the book, and I'll let you know more of my thoughts. I'm hoping that, like, maybe something exciting and unknown will happen, and I'll be surprised, and then I'll be like, guys, oh my god, it's actually really good, and I'm loving it. Who knows? I'm trying to keep, like, an open mind to this book, and I think, though, that I'm definitely not going to be buying the Legacy. I don't even think I'm going to read the Legacy. If I do, maybe one day I'll look to see if it's on Libby and read it there when I'm just really bored. And I'm like, hey, maybe I should finally do that. But I'm definitely not going to spend my hard-earned dollars on the Legacy so I can read it. That's for sure. So, and there we go. I'll see you guys later. Okay. I now have like 100 pages left to the goal. I will say that, like, I'm finally at a part of the plot where things are happening that I'm not just like waiting to happen because I already know what's going to happen. I mean, in a way, I still kind of know what's going to happen, but at least like that's me guessing based off of context and not literally just knowing it's going to happen because the previous book told me that was what's going to happen, you know? So like there is that. I will say I had to wait way too long for this plot to finally get to the point of where the last book of this series ended and then revealed where this one was going. I felt like it took way too much book to get to that point. And like I said, I was bored. I also think now it's like we got to that part of the plot and now it's stalled. Like the relationship development between these two characters have completely, it's just nothing's been developing there. It has not gone anywhere. They've just been paused in limbo. So like what's happening in the book? What is the plot? I would love to know. So, like, I'm struggling with that. In case you can't tell, I am, in fact, on the struggle bus. Somebody get me, like, a season's pass for the struggle bus for reading this book. But I'm okay with books not having plot. Like, I can be a no plot, just vibes girly, okay? I recently read Cleopatra and Frankenstein, which I would put in the same category as, like, normal people of, like, no plot, just vibes. Loved it. So like I'm not saying give me a plot or nothing, but like if you give me no plot, you have to give me something in return. And instead there's like these very like one-dimensional characters. Both of these characters don't have a lot of depth, okay? You have Sabrina, who is stubborn, work hard, do it all myself girl, who is emotionally closed off because she doesn't want help because she's stubborn. And then there's Tucker, Southern good boy, my mama raised me right boy. Like, that's kind of all they do. And because then the relationship is just like stalled out, there's nothing happening. And like I personally was not feeling chemistry between them before that anyway. So it felt like we just like went from bland to nothing in terms of like chemistry and relationship development. So like it just is. I cannot describe to you how truly indifferent I am to this book. It's not even like it's like just not good. It just is. It just is a book. I don't despise the characters, but they're a little boring. I don't like hate the plot, but it's bland and predictable. I don't hate this relationship, but the characters just are lacking any depth. It just is. The book just is. I'll finish the last 100 pages. Maybe it'll surprise me. I doubt it, but it might. Yeah, at least then I can consider this series done because I'm still very undecided on if I'm ever going to read the Legacy. I did like go into Libby today and I put a hold on the Legacy to see if maybe I might be inspired in a few weeks' time to read it just so I can like be my completionist self. But so far, reading the majority of this book is really leaving me not wanting to read more. So yeah, we'll see. I have, unfortunately, since starting this book, started a new series. So I don't know what my problem is. Like, I'm literally here making a whole thing about, like, I'm finishing series because I'm reading too many. And then I start a new one. So far I'm at, like, net 0. Instead of being 2 series down from this video, I'm now only 1 series down because I started a new one. Guys, I need to get myself under control. Yeah. So that'll just be a problem for future Michaela to deal with. Present Michaela is needing to read the last 100 pages of this book and then get back to you on the final thoughts, okay? Yes. Let's go do that. I've finished reading The Goal. Yes, I'm wearing a ballet leotard. No, I will not be providing any context. I finished reading The Goal. I ended up giving it 2.5 stars, and it's just because I could not possibly feel more indifferent about this book. I gave Twisted Love a 2.5 stars, but that was like a very different 2.5 than this 2.5. Because like Twisted Love was a 2.5 because it was so objectively not a good book, but subjectively I was having a fantastic, amazing, entertaining time with it. So it just was middle of the road. This, I just didn't give a damn. I didn't give a damn about anything. The characters were kind of one note, but they weren't like horribly nothing. They just were okay. Tucker was this noble Southern man, and Sabrina was this stubborn, emotionally closed off girl, and like, you know, that's not the worst characters in the world, but I also like that was kind of it. I felt like no chemistry between them, so I like didn't care about their relationship. And then I felt like their relationship, you spent like most of the book just waiting for the thing you knew was going to happen, and then once it happened, it felt like the book went nowhere, and then it just ended. And yeah, I just don't care. And I almost feel like I would have liked the book more if I hated it, if that makes sense. Like, I wish I hated this book, but I didn't. Everything was just, I can't even say fine, like, it just was. Like, the book happened, and I read it, and there you go. That's, like, all I can say. So, like, after that, I kind of don't have it in me to try and finish another series right now. Like, I feel like I need, like, emotionally some distance from the vlog, so I'm gonna be ending the vlog. But I did finish 2 series, but then I did start a series while I was finishing these 2 series, so we're still down 1. Like, my series spreadsheet's now at 20, so, you know, we got it down a little bit, and we'll just keep working on that in the next episode of this vlog series of trying to finish all the series I'm reading. So there we go. I'm done. I'm done. If you happen to like the video, make sure to give it a like, give it a little thumbs up. If you happen to like me, consider subscribing. I'd be happy to have you. Let me know if you've read any of these series or these books and your thoughts on them. How many series are you currently in the middle of? Do you think it's way too many? Are you trying to read them down? Let me know. Are you in the same predicament as me, where you are overwhelmed by the number of series you are reading? And with that, I hope you're having a wonderful day today, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.